Most people picture newborn animals the same way: helpless, eyes sealed shut, weeks away from their first wobbly steps. Forget that image right now, because a baby elephant arrives on a completely different schedule. The moment a calf hits the ground, the clock is already running. It weighs around 90 kilograms, roughly 200 pounds, which is about what a grown adult human tips the scale at. That is not a fragile little thing curled up in a nest. That is a living, breathing, nearly 200-pound animal that the herd cannot afford to carry. Here is why the pressure is so immediate. Elephants live in family groups that are always moving, always covering ground in search of food and water. A calf that cannot keep pace is a calf in danger. So evolution did something extraordinary. It gave elephants a 22-month pregnancy, nearly 2 full years. So the calf arrives not as a rough draft, but already deeply developed. 22 months of building muscle, bone, and instinct, all packed into that 90-kilogram body before it ever takes its first breath of open air. And what happens in those first minutes? The calf is born almost blind. It cannot see the world clearly, but it doesn't need to. It already knows the one thing that matters: follow the sounds and the smell and the warmth of its mother. That drive to stay close is not learned. It's wired in from birth. Within roughly an hour, the calf must be on its feet. It has to, because nursing requires standing. Calves drink their mother's milk with their mouths, not their trunks, and that means getting upright fast. Watch a calf trying to stand for the first time, and you'll see something that looks almost comically determined. Legs splaying, lurching sideways, toppling forward. But the herd doesn't watch passively. If the calf cries out, every elephant nearby comes in, touching it with their trunks, nudging it gently, crowding close until it finds its footing. This is a family that has been invested in this animal for nearly 2 years, and they are not losing it now. 90 kilograms, almost blind, standing within the hour. That is the opening move of an elephant's life, and it tells you everything about what kind of animal you are dealing with. The number is 40,000. That is how many individual muscles are packed into a single elephant's trunk. And the entire human body, from the muscles in your face to the ones in your feet, has only around 600. Think about that for a moment. One appendage on one animal contains more muscles than your entire body head to toe. And yet, for all that muscular firepower, there is not a single bone inside it. Not one. The trunk is what biologists call a muscular hydrostat, the same category as a human tongue or an octopus tentacle, held together entirely by muscle, connective tissue, and nerves, free to move in any direction with no skeleton to limit it. This boneless architecture is exactly what makes it so extraordinary. On one end of the scale, an adult elephant can use its trunk to snap branches and uproot trees, or lift logs weighing around 270 kilograms, roughly the weight of a large motorcycle. On the other end, that same trunk can pick up a single grain of rice without crushing it. Not grab at it, not sweep it up by accident. Pick it up deliberately, with precise control. The secret is at the very tip. African elephants have 2 finger-like projections there, working together like a pincer. Asian elephants have 1. These act as a built-in hand, letting the trunk grip, peel, cradle, and manipulate objects with a dexterity that rivals human fingers. Researchers have documented elephants using their trunks to peel bananas and to pick up tortilla chips without snapping them. But the trunk is far more than a limb. It is, anatomically, a fusion of the upper lip and the nose. And that nose gives elephants a sense of smell that leaves ours far behind. Asian elephants carry roughly 2,500 olfactory receptor genes, compared to around 400 in humans. Every breath paints a detailed chemical picture of everything nearby, and when an elephant needs to cross deep water, the trunk extends above the surface as a snorkel while the animal walks along the riverbed below. It can draw in several liters of water at a time and carry them straight to the mouth, serving simultaneously as the straw, the container, and the faucet. 40,000 muscles, 0 bones, one structure that uproots trees, peels bananas, reads the wind, and breathes underwater. Whatever you thought a nose was built to do, the elephant has long since expanded the job description. Most people think they understand how elephants communicate. They trumpet, they rumble, they call across the savanna. They hear with those enormous ears. Simple enough. Except that picture leaves out something extraordinary happening right beneath their feet. Here is what almost nobody realizes. Some of the most important messages elephants send never touch the air at all. They travel through the ground. Elephants produce low-frequency rumbles so deep they fall below the threshold of human hearing, what scientists call infrasound. These rumbles do not just roll through the air. They sink into the earth and radiate outward like ripples from a stone dropped in water. And they can travel at least 5 or 6 miles. Now, here is where it gets genuinely strange. When another elephant senses one of these signals, it does not prick up its ears. It goes still. It shifts its weight and sometimes lifts a foot, pointing a toe toward the earth. A pose researchers came to recognize as a listening stance. Then it presses those enormous, heavily padded feet firmly into the ground. That padding, a dense ball of fat called the digital cushion, actually spreads out under pressure, enlarging the foot's contact surface by as much as 20%. Tucked inside the foot are dozens of touch receptors called Pacinian corpuscles, the same type found in human skin. These pick up the vibration and fire a signal toward the brain. But here is the twist most people miss. The story does not end at touch. Caitlin O'Connell Rodwell, a researcher at Stanford University, discovered that those vibrations travel further still, up through the elephant's skeleton, all the way to its inner ear. The ground rumble essentially becomes sound through a process called bone conduction. Feeling and hearing, it turns out, are not as separate as we assume. O'Connell Rodwell tested this in Namibia by burying speakers underground and playing recorded elephant alarm calls. When the same call came through the ground rather than the air, the elephants reacted differently. They grew cautious, closed ranks, but held their position. A signal felt through the feet they seem to understand means danger is far away. A sound arriving through the air means it is close. Elephants also press their trunks flat against the ground when listening, using nerve endings there as a second receiver. What this all adds up to is something that feels almost like a hidden network. A web of seismic signals threading silently through miles of earth, connecting herds that may never see each other at all. Here is something field researchers noticed long before they could prove it. When one elephant called out toward another, certain individuals would perk up, call back, and approach, while others nearby barely reacted at all. That asymmetry nagged at scientists for years. It turned out what they were witnessing was something almost no species on Earth has ever been documented doing. Those elephants were calling each other by name. A study published in the journal Nature Ecology and Evolution, led by researchers from Colorado State University, in partnership with Save the Elephants and Elephant Voices, confirmed what years of careful observation had suggested. African elephants produce rumbles, those low, resonant sounds that can travel for miles. And embedded within some of those rumbles is a name-like label identifying a specific individual. It is not just a generalized contact call meant for the whole herd. It is addressed to one elephant in particular. That puts elephants in extraordinarily rare company. Until this discovery, assigning vocal labels to specific individuals, names in the truest sense, was considered something only humans and a tiny number of other species could do. The research was meticulous. Scientists spent 4 years on the project, including 14 months of intensive fieldwork across 2 locations in Kenya: Samburu National Reserve and Amboseli National Park. They recorded around 470 distinct calls from 101 individual callers addressing 117 different receivers. Then they fed that acoustic data into a machine learning model, which confirmed the calls contained a name-like component pointing to a specific individual. To verify that the elephants themselves recognized it, researchers played recordings back to the animals. When an elephant heard a call that had been addressed to it, it called back or moved toward the speaker. When it heard a call meant for someone else, the reaction was noticeably muted. The elephants knew their own names. And here is the detail that makes this feel the most human of all. Elephants do not use names constantly. Just like people in conversation, they do not address each other by name in every exchange. Name-calling was significantly more common over long distances, or when adults were communicating with calves. Exactly the situations where getting the right individual's attention matters most. This had long been considered a uniquely human behavior, a cognitive line that separated us from the rest of the animal kingdom. Turns out, the elephants crossed it long before we thought to look. Most of us assume that in the animal kingdom, strength rules. The biggest body wins, the most powerful creature leads. But in elephant society, that assumption is completely wrong. The leader of an elephant herd is not the largest animal. It's not the most aggressive. It's the oldest female, the matriarch. And the males, they leave the group entirely at adolescence, living alone or in small bachelor groups. The herd itself is an all-female domain. Closely bonded mothers, daughters, aunts, and calves, sometimes numbering more than 100 individuals. And it's the elder who holds it together. Here's why that matters more than you might think. Much of elephant behavior isn't built into their biology. It's learned. What the herd knows, it knows because someone taught it. And the matriarch is the keeper of the herd's most critical knowledge, where water can be found when the dry season bites hardest, which routes lead to food across distances most animals wouldn't attempt, and where the best alternatives are when the usual paths fail. Elephants can recall the locations of food and water sources across enormous distances. They even adjust their travel schedule to arrive when specific fruit is ripe, not just where to go, but when. That kind of precision isn't instinct. It accumulates over decades of lived experience, carried in one elephant's memory, and passed down through the generations. The saying, "elephants never forget," turns out to be grounded in real biology. The temporal lobe, the part of the brain most associated with memory, is larger and denser in elephants than it is in humans. What the matriarch has accumulated over her lifetime isn't just impressive, it's irreplaceable. This is what makes the loss of a matriarch so devastating for the herd. Her decades of memorized geography, her knowledge of where to turn when conditions turn brutal, doesn't transfer automatically. It has to be rebuilt from scratch. The experience that took a lifetime to accumulate simply disappears with her. Researchers describe her knowledge as a vital asset to the herd's survival. And when it's gone, the group's ability to navigate hardship drops with it. So the next time you picture a herd of elephants crossing the savannah, Think about what's really happening. It's not just a migration. It's a living library on the move, guided by one elder who has seen more dry seasons, found more hidden water, and learned more hard lessons than anyone else in that group. She is the herd's memory, and the herd survives because of it. Most people assume that self-awareness, the ability to recognize yourself as a distinct individual, is something only humans truly possess, maybe with a grudging nod to our closest primate relatives. That assumption is wrong. In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. developed what became known as the mirror test. The idea is deceptively simple. Mark an animal somewhere on its body it cannot directly see, hold up a mirror, and watch what happens. A self-aware animal will use the reflection to investigate the mark on itself. An animal that lacks self-awareness will treat the reflection as a stranger. Today, only 9 non-human species have passed it. Elephants are on that list. When Asian elephants were given a large mirror, big enough to reflect their entire body, something remarkable happened. They didn't charge at it, or circle behind it looking for the animal on the other side. Instead, they stood and watched themselves. They tossed their trunks, pulled at their ears, put their trunks into their own mouths, all while watching the reflection respond. Using their trunks, much the way you'd use your hands, they explored their own faces. Researcher Joshua Plotnick, who led a key study on this, found that these self-directed behaviors, movements clearly aimed at themselves, not at a stranger, were unmistakable evidence of self-recognition. That is not a small thing. It means an elephant carries a mental model of itself. It knows it exists as a separate being in the world, and that inner life doesn't stay hidden. When an elephant dies, the herd doesn't simply move on. They gather around the body. They stand vigil, sometimes for hours. They are deeply social animals with lifelong bonds to their families, and when they lose one of their own, what they do next looks unmistakably like grief. Think about what that pairing means. An animal that recognizes its own face in a mirror and mourns when the faces it loves are gone. Self-awareness and grief in the same creature. That's not instinct. That's something we've long assumed was ours alone. And elephants have been quietly proving us wrong all along. Before 1977, more than 80% of female African elephants had tusks. After 1992, only about half of them did. That collapse didn't happen by chance, and understanding why starts with understanding exactly what a tusk is. Here is the surprising part. A tusk is not a horn, not a bone. It is a tooth, specifically an incisor, the same kind you have at the front of your own mouth. Except in an elephant, it never stops growing. Starting around age 2, these teeth push outward from the upper jaw, lengthening at roughly 7 inches every single year. Over a lifespan of about 60 years in the wild, that compounds into something you have to see to believe. An older elephant's tusks can reach or nearly touch the ground as it walks. The longest tusk ever recorded stretched 11.5 feet, roughly the length of a small car. The heaviest came in at well over 200 pounds. Elephants with at least one tusk reaching 100 pounds are known by a special name, super tuskers. They are vanishingly rare today. The tusks themselves are made of dentin, the same dense tissue at the core of your own teeth, wrapped in a thin layer of enamel. Despite how they look, they are not decorative. Elephants use them every single day, digging for water, prying bark off trees, lifting and shifting heavy objects, fighting rivals, defending young. They are a built-in multi-tool, and they never get put away. Elephants even develop a preference for one over the other, the way people are right or left-handed. The dominant tusk wears down faster while the other keeps growing. And with an older elephant, the difference is easy to spot at a glance. That connection, older elephants, bigger tusks, is exactly what made them a target. Poachers could identify the most valuable animals on sight. The elephants with the most spectacular ivory were the first to be killed, year after year, generation after generation. Over time, the animals most likely to survive were the ones born without tusks at all. Natural selection, accelerated by human pressure. That is what explains the numbers from the beginning. 80% down to half, not over millions of years, but within a single human lifetime. A biological feature that took ages to evolve, reshaped in decades by demand for one thing, a tooth. Just an unstoppable, ever-growing tooth. Here is something most people never hear about newborn elephants. In their first weeks of life, they have no idea how to use their trunks. That extraordinary limb, the same one they will spend a lifetime using to drink, to comfort family members, and to explore the world through scent, is essentially useless at birth. A calf swings it around, trips over it, and must be taught by its mother how to eat and drink. And that helplessness is not a flaw. It is the whole point. To understand why, you have to start with the pregnancy itself. 22 months. That is how long an elephant carries her calf, longer than any other land mammal alive. Nearly 2 full years of waiting. And the reason comes down to one extraordinary organ: the brain. An elephant's brain weighs around 4.8 kilograms, the largest brain of any land animal that has ever lived. More than 3 times the weight of a human brain. But here is the striking part. A calf is born with only about 35% of its adult brain weight. Most mammals arrive with roughly 90% of their brain already complete, wired for instinct from the first breath. Even chimpanzees, our closest relatives, are born with about half their adult brain weight. Elephants arrive far less finished, which means they spend years learning and being shaped by the family around them. That unfinished brain is the price and the prize of everything that makes elephants so remarkable. It is what allows them to recognize themselves in a mirror, a form of self-awareness shared by barely a handful of species on Earth. It is what drives them to grieve, returning again and again to the bones of a lost family member, gently touching them with their trunks. It is what lets them tell apart more than 100 different individuals just by the sound of their calls. The largest brain on land does not come cheap, and 22 months turns out to be the minimum. A calf figures out its trunk eventually. It watches its mother, copies what the older elephants do, and gradually that clumsy limb becomes one of the most versatile tools in the animal kingdom. The ignorance of birth becomes the intelligence of a lifetime. All of it made possible by a mother with the patience to wait nearly 2 years. If these facts have you wanting more, go ahead and subscribe. There is plenty more to discover.